an addition to describe you as a group? So I'm talking to experts in procurement. That's one. Another one? Okay. You have the freedom to just give your opinion. Who am I talking to? I'm listening to your opinion. Yes.
I think that the answer is correct.
You have no addition. No amendment. Okay, we'll stick with it. My name is John Nganga. I run a consultancy firm called Taruma Consultants Limited. And my main interest is especially in helping people to realize their full potential. In other words, I like to spend time helping people to be the better version of themselves. And that means all of us, including me, require help to be the better version of ourselves. And that's why I was happy to be given this topic of personal branding. In other words, not who are you, it is who do people think you are. Do you know Jesus once asked his disciples, who do you say? Who do people, no, he started with, who do people say? Yeah. And they say, okay, thank you. Then you, who do you say? I am. That's our discussion this afternoon. Not who you really are, but who do people say you actually are. And this is a very important subject. Why? Because I left the university in the mid-1970s, so for the last 40-something years, I'm involved in one type of work or another. I worked until my employer told me I was old. as young as I am, so I retired. I'm a pensioner. Now, with that period, I have realized this is a very, very important subject. Because if people think you are not who you are, they do not deal with you, they deal with who they think you are. I still remember I was in media management then, and I don't know what had happened in my department. And my boss, these are the top 5 in the organization, said, John, are you not lucky? I said, what do you mean? If what had happened to me, they will be all over investigating. Till they just believe you. I had never imagined. That's what my boss thought. That I get easy with a small stuff because people believe it cannot be me. If I did it, it must be by mistake. So they don't spend all their time investigating. But to reach that level, there will be several tests along the way, isn't it? And with every test, they are confirming it's not worth. And it's the same thing with your bosses. There are bosses who, every time you write a report, they go through it with a comb. Everything. Why? They think that if they take the matter to the board, you'll embarrass them. So they have to repeat your work. You are working and they are working. Have you not had process like that? Who repeat everything you did? They're asking every question. It's like you're repeating the whole work. It's because in their mind, they have not reached the trust level where what you do can be forwarded. You know, you just write forwarded without even looking at the document. To reach that level, not the real you, but the you the boss has in mind, to be that person they can trust. They just go through the page. Of course, they are not reading. They just because if you see somebody like a whole page, how many words can you have read as the papers are going? Then they just sign. That tells you their view of you is you can never embarrass them. If there is a problem, it must be a serious accident. They trust in you. That's what you're discussing this afternoon. If they don't have the proper view of you, my friend, every time they think of themselves retiring and imagine you're a candidate to take over, they shanta. Because they don't, I hope that's not what Uhuru feels about his deputy, but it can be quite once you have the wrong opinion, it can be quite a serious issue, both for the boss and for the subordinate. And I believe that's why whoever was organizing the course felt we need to talk about how do you sell yourself right rather than sell yourself short. when you are dealing with people. I hope from the interaction you can see it's not a subject you can actually ignore. It's a subject that you must put your time into and think clearly how to deal with it. Just trying to see whether it's going to obey the machine. We are talking really about your reputation. And we are saying the reputation is the way you are viewed by people or by the community. That's your reputation. And the way these people think of you, not you, them. An example of reputation is the genuine belief that someone is nice. Oh, like now currently, we are spending a lot of our viewing time just listening to people's view of the late President Kibaki. You know, nice, honest, hard-working person. And it's very important to understand that what the view you have is the way you view people. One of the shortcomings of management is that a lot of decisions that are made in the world are not based on reality. They are based on perception. Would you agree with me? So, if there are no perception of you, you may be the most hard-working person. But if they think you are doing when it's a promotion, these are fair. We don't know that what we don't know. We have a different behavior, and some of them suffer from something called the halo effect. Halo effect, the way you see something when you interview. Even in reality, that's not the who he is. The halo effect is you stay with the perception of the event. Or the fact that you met this new guy, he stammered or he did something wrong. 2 years later, whenever he said to go that's not the guy I can touch. What I did, I do not want to discuss. I just attack my partner thing. But it's all to do with halo effect. Of course, as I'm talking about this, we are not going to view your plan, but I'm not going to disappointment. And I'm saying, please be suspicious of your perception. You can be wrong. Or try to investigate something beyond your immediate perception. In case you are suffering from the other problem of this reputation issue is something called stereotyping. Halo effect is it's a new thing that happening, but you always tap towards the person who saw the first time. Stereotyping is a little different. It is short people, nobody has done nothing. Short people, can really be short. I mean, surely. You know, sometimes time is asking that serious people be short. Make decisions on the basis of serious. That's one. You should make a case. Who does it? Now, if you are asking for evidence, and all the that is saying, it is obvious. He is from Western. Now, surely, Western people are in the second largest tribal again. Am I right? So, how can one person so make sure that all their rulers are exactly the same? That is called stereotyping. And unfortunately, the plan will be affected by the stereotype. It's a weakness because you end up with the overall productivity for the organization simply by managers who suffer from stereotyping or halo effect. So you need to be aware of telling your plan. That's what you are coming up against as you try to deal with this as an issue. What we are saying is that you must have your USP, unique selling proposition, and you yourself need to know who are you, what is your offer. When you get to an organization, what is it you are really offering them? Okay, people like to say, I'm offering you a certificate. It's true. You are qualified procurement expert, supply specialist, agree. Of course, I have the same certificate. Am I right? I don't know how to use the membership is. How to use the membership of the institute. How many people? Yeah. Yeah, go on. How many? 6,000. So when you are certificate, that's a different way. You need to be able to say, you have that certificate. What are you at a level? And here, whether you are applying for a job, or whether you are trying to make a name for yourself, or a business owner, or whatever, your reputation is the thing that will determine whether you get. Unfortunately, even if you start a farm, like I do a consultancy farm, I'll send my CV, I'll give my profile, but if you have time I talk to guy yourself, the leadership forms an opinion about you. My certificate are not useless. If you have perception, the better people are so deeper. I know what I can do, but the truth is, I'm not going to see yourself play a big role. You know, what we're saying is you need to craft a personal branding statement that includes what your USP is. And then you can use it and place it in your website. Just for interest, how many people can give me within the next 10 minutes their USP? A summary statement on what you offer. Okay, you have it in your head. How do you get it down? How many of you have to actually summarize who you are to understand? Just to guide him in his perception of you. Okay, I'm not asking you to give us a presentation. I'm asking, do you have it? How many have it? Oh, in the head. You have it in the head. It is not in the head. Do you have a head? If I do what you are, can I tell you? Now, how do you want to say yourself? Am I right? You are telling people to go out and about it. Am I right? Yeah, because we are not educated. So I'm suggesting one of the deliverables of this workshop is that you end up with, by the end of the evening, when you sleep, like a draft. It may be wrong, but at least you have it. Summarizing, when you open yourself to the outside world, who are you? What are you? What is your unique selling proposition? And I think it will be a very important thing to just ask yourself whether that's where you are. Still going on with this USP. We are talking about something that makes them stand out, or makes you stand out against your competition. What's unique about you? What do you feel you have beyond other people with the same certificate? Member community. What is it that you actually have that you call unique? Of course, there are many things that are unique about you, but you are looking for something that is unique and very useful in the area of selling. That's why you are selling your USP to your partner. You're not attaching to the same USP to the employer. Not really. Because each is looking for a different advantage. So that assessment then but when you are coming to deal with someone, you need to write it appropriate to them. If you are writing a USP for a commercial organization and you tell them you put it in hands, it will make them give it what I mean. They are going to make their opinion better. It will not be better not to say it. Say something, which we will do the cross. I'm not doing it. But if you tell them what's the matter, who am I? I can't be that. You are not going to be not for every year. I'm not going to do it. So it's important to ask yourself, who are you writing it for? Because that will be something that is very important. It refers to your biggest strength, or the one defining quality that sets you apart. That's really what we are talking about. So when we talk about personal branding, which is a summary of what you want people to think of you, that's what personal branding is. A summary of what you want people to think of you. We are talking about your life purpose? How many have their life purpose written? Now what will see that your life purpose? What is God creating? What is God in the world? You are created. Which God is not created to solve? What do you feel if you die? I'm not against you die. Don't worry. If you die, what will the world do? I've written a book called Discovering the Right Purpose. Because for the last many years I've been trying to mentor young graduates. And I realized they are not here. You know, if you ask somebody, even ask children in primary school, what do you want? I want to become an authority. Ask the small little boy what an authority means. He has no idea. But as you want to be an authority is a job. That's not who you are. You need to find out what the authorities do. So you give a statement of a problem. And an authority could be somebody who is interested in helping women with women diseases. That's all. My calling is to help women with their diseases. Now, or whatever. But there's a time what you need to tell you. You must, if you support the plan, it must relate with your long-term, with your purpose. And I don't think I have enough time to deal with this, but I'm saying it will be important that every one of you has a mission, a vision, and a core value statement that you have stated. The same way you do it on organization, you must write that for yourself. One of the exercises that I give people is not my own is picture yourself on your 80th birthday. Maybe you should move it to 90, because you want to die of 90. But see, they're very beautiful meeting 90. You are very beautiful. So, yeah, and we're not talking about you there, we're talking about you there. So, the 80th birthday. If you are, if our surprise the 80th birthday, inform the young you are talking. What do you hear people saying about you? So, I don't recommend like 6 or 7 birthday speeches. You either have when you are 25. Believing that God will help you to live it like that. So that by the time you are 80, when they come to the birthday, God will have prepared to teach. This one was prepared 6 years ago. Just because they drink over 12 years ago. Now, because that is the way you are helping down your purpose. You are helping out those who hope to achieve. But anyway, you may still live to 100 for the final 20 years if you have to open the life of knowledge. It's not very beautiful. Would you agree with me? After that. But so please, and I'm not serious with this request, try to write down your birthday speech for your 80th birthday. It will force you to think about your right purpose. The first speech is a speech to be read by your spouse, assuming he will believe you, because one of you will be dead. But assuming you are believing you or both of you will be alive, what do you write it down. Oh, today is the birthday of my dear wife. I don't want to tell you our life together for 50 years. What it has been. What do you hear that man say? Summarize it in 1 page or less. Today, in the birthday of my dear wife, my life has totally turned different. This is the impact he has had on me. Write it down. Obviously, you are cheating. Your husband will be still, he will not be sent as a so you will not agree to it. So you must write the truth about what you feel God is helping you to become. What do you say? Of course, it became saying that my husband has been a part-time husband. He is with so many men. You know, I don't know what is that what you hear in your Bible speech? Then write it down. Now, if you still think of a better man, write it down. Then in the rest of your life, live in line with your vision of the future. That's how to create a reputation. That's how to create a plan. By living your purpose, a clear vision to live and a clear vision to die. You have something to live and something to die. So the first speech, this is the normal topic today, the first speech is for your spouse. The second speech is for your children. To be led around with the children, sons of God. What do you have to say? Today is the birthday of my son. I cannot say the impact my son has had on me. Now, what do you hear them say? Remember, you are great grandfather, you are not only a grandfather. He can't be nonsense. So tell the truth. What impact do you see yourself making? Summarizing in one page. It's creating a vision of your life purpose. That is speech. Please, you have had one of your spouse, one by your children, the third one will be led by a cousin. Remember all the answers are there. All of them. Even yourself, you are about to die. Now, we're talking about the cousin that will give the eye. And will tell you, and then I said, the God is from our father. He is the son of my younger father. That is, speak vernacular. He is my younger father. He is the father. And this is the impact he has had on our class. Do you see yourself making an impact? Don't you like God created you to make an impact on your land? Then you are not in politics. Look at how we do this now. How many cities have I mentioned? How many? 3. Okay, number 4. So now we are trying to remove the movie from the center out. Now it's time for a speech to be read by somebody in the community. Not your family, but do we really make a difference in the community? If so, what kind of difference? What do you hear them say? Of course, if you are not to be a member of parliament, it will be a better community. If you are going to be a president, it will be the whole of Kenya. If you are going to be an international representative, so what do you see yourself? What impact you want to make? You want to make only in your estate, or can you see yourself going on by another? That's what you're going to write. You want to see in your head what kind of impact are you going to make. So it will be read. If you are of course in an MP, it will be bigger. If you are president, it will be bigger. But all of us, surely, you must have an idea about God created you to meet a need in the community. Which need? Those are now all relevant. Now we can move out. And the first speech to be written by an outsider is a speech to be read by your professional colleague. People who have worked with you, people who are with you, maybe in the university, studied similar things, and you have been with them for until both of you retire. They say, hey, let me tell you about the past before. Our country will not be the same if it were not for his engineering exercise, or his architectural exercise, or his procurement exercise. What is that the professional qualifications make in the world? What are you saying for? What impact? You might not society, it's just impact we're discussing. And remember the guy talking knows you from back to the so you tell the truth about the impact of it. Once that is made, you now are ready to be a radius in research. In other words, what failure difference do you make on anybody? And your pastor, not the current one, the one who is better, will be saying something about how your life has spiritual impact on people. You are playing the most, or you're just a sick woman, you want the sick in the mosque. Or are you about making a difference spiritually? You found a guy who's winning his life, your spiritual impact can't be to another direction. Those are the things that will be in the speech. So how many have you so far? 6. So that's 6. That is adequate. The 7th one is not to be delivered. When you try for the party, someone from another country, and you can answer to talk about your exploits outside the country. So that's what I'm not going to write. But if you see yourself having an impact, wow, then write something. It depends, obviously, the younger you are, the harder it is for you to imagine whether it can happen. You know, I'm just about 70. And I looked at my life when I was younger, and after admitting that I wouldn't have thought about certain things. You know, the other day I was doing some consultant work in Central African Republic, and we were asked to give some training to the cabinet. And as I sat next to the president, I said, if this guy knows where I am, you know that he knows this. It's good we are even having to cabinet because I don't know enough French to be able to speak. But if he thinks, I know people are asking, and who Kenya. Now, they spoil the soup. One they start asking. But the truth is, God will be happy in future for you to see yourself beyond the Kenyan dollar. Is that how you put it? Yeah. So write it down. Because when you write it down, you will use your life to fulfill whatever is your mission. So exactly when you send the position, you are thinking of around the world. Not I'm just Kenyan. That's what he came to do. My hope is that within the next 1 hour, you will have a draft of those 7 speeches or 6 speeches. While you finish them, put them on a table and find out what is the running bread across all the 6 or 7 speeches. That running bread is your purpose for living. Because you are created to meet a need in the world. That world includes your spouse, your family, includes your community, includes the nation, includes. So you look for bread and you do. That's what you call your purpose. And your purpose statement is to contribute to your unique selling proposition. Am I clear? Yeah, so of course it's your choice whether you like it or not. But I'll do anything. And if you think I'm not here enough, you can read my book on how to develop your purpose. Discovering your life purpose. My books are normally marketed by or distributed by Scripture Union Bookshop. There are bookshop in Avinam, another one in Chakra. And it's why you're very popular. Well, most of you are agents, but you can just get it in Amazon. Just to help you aid you as you write your purpose. That will be something important. You see, in writing that statement, you look at your life skills, you look at your job location, you look at your personality, you look at your history, and everything else that makes you you. That's really what you're talking about. Have you had time to look at your life and see those things or not? Your plans will only come out after you're walking the walk. And it's because it's an afternoon, I'd like to invoke everybody reading. Would you like to read what is on the board? Yes, read. Out. She needs a mind. God will not bless her with a voice like mine. I was watching. This is the love that I'm here.
When you establish for yourself, it is all about God and working the work. How you hold yourself, how you speak, the way you choose to create your own logo to build up your online research and etc. Every step activity the partner with project are all major factors that influence the way and others will perceive you both on and offline.
What are you saying? You are saying we are not here to talk about how to fake it until you make it. The trouble is, people are not fools. They don't know you are saying you are faith, but you are saying a different person. So you want to come in, like you need that news. You want to come in, and they expect that the interviewing panel will just assume. They will ask questions like on the thing. My second opposition, I'm a man who is honest. You just go through the city and look at the account. And you ask me about a car, and he starts telling you a story. You stop that out. Then you ask a question and you go back and ask the same question in different, and when the question don't be said, you have a right. So what you like is not as important as who you are. It matters how you market yourself. But if they say you are in Missouri, Kibaya, basically say, if you really are a good man, it will be far much easier for those who are friends than a bad man trying to pretend to be a good man. So really what we're saying is, we are talking about your personal brand or as somebody how people view you. Please start with who am I here? Do I know my talk? Or I say one thing and I need a different meaning. And that will be very, very, very important. So that's really what we have to talk about. Who are you? Really. Not what you said, but who are you? Really. Pass the mic to the next person. Just leave it with them.
Person graduate, kami nampak person.
Tapi lagi,
bangsa kanota biasa brand awal pasti pak. Kalau graduate manusia di kami nampak person. Nampak person is nampak kayu tidak menanggung karakter, really a content in life. Really balance life.
I'm going to suggest 3 things that can help you to be a better person. Number one, what is the character? What is character? Character is who you are in the dark. They say go to go analyze character. Do not watch him in the boardroom. Because there he is conscious about what you want to sell. Just put a camera in a restaurant and see how he addresses waiters. Don't waste it. That is who he really is. Don't look at a woman with a hundred and think you know her. Put the camera at home and see how he talks to the house girl. That's who he really is. Because character is who you are in the dark. Not who you try to sell yourself. So you need to ask yourself, anything you do, if it was to appear in the headline of the nation newspaper, would you mind? If you mind, then you have a good character. Because character is something that you proud of. And if you have that good character, my friend, you will be quite okay in your life. Because people will understand. Then sometimes say, I will go the wrong. That's not who he is. He has consistently shown himself to be very different from that. Number two, we are talking about contentment. How we can call the secret of contentment. Now, what I mean is, the moment you are living a life of being with other people, you really are likely to end up with having a good life to serve to others. Only you really are pushed to compete with other people. That's how they say, you don't have to be very hard, you might become very well. And you know, many people who are gifted are bad relationships. Because they look down on them and they step on them. Now, my friend, if you get contented, what is contentment? You go to my book on contentment. Contentment is being happy with who you are now, without giving up on the better person you will be. What is contentment? Being happy with who you are now, without giving up on the person you will be. That's contentment. That means you are happy. You know, a boy says you are born in Mombasa, and yet it was the one government. And then you were so keen to see how the train looked like. You go see that from here, then move to the next, try another one. But then when you go back, you are not that on the sea. Because that's how was the journey. You are not here. Because we never enjoyed the trip at all. That's how I was for us and we don't see the here. They are so much they go down there. They don't know where they are. Now that kind of a person will be a very bad self. He will let something wonderful with a brand. But because of that, it's called a rapid. A rapid. It's compared who will with me. He can get ahead of me. People are in the rapid. The trouble in the rapid is that only a heart can win it. Now, so if everybody gets over that, when they're there, and the everybody in the rapid will have a partner. Because it's always trying to think, even when so and so, if the man has a family, you don't give way. You don't talk his way, so I don't do anything. We did not know for the family. You never found me so and so. He is bad news. And that has to do to your community. That's then how you are getting a bad guy. So that's being a contentment is very important. Do you know you have unless you are not contented? Concern now. You don't have much, you're driving a small car. This is called a bit. You're driving a small car and you're happy. Because you know the people cannot be on your goods. They are always good. Now, so how can you complain about happy? That is not what you want to do in Mercedes. But before you start taking this, you are grateful and enjoy the fact that the bits, the Mercedes, are ready for the same. And I'll come back to that. But that contentment, remember our today they know what is your plan, your personal plan. If you don't have this issue of contentment, I know a lot of people don't accept our contentment because they think it will not become an addiction. Remember, I define for you contentment is being happy with where you are, without giving anyone where you will be. Keeping that balance. When you are trying to go places, but in the movement, you feel grateful where you are. That's where the issue is. And I think you feel the problem. You are here before being married, then you get a husband. Now, as soon as you feel so happy, you realize, my husband can't buy a Mercedes. Now, from then onwards, your marriage is in trouble. Why? You are not happy with the kind of husband. You are already not doing. Now, all of that will be who you are. Somebody never satisfied. And it is to create problems. The that thing you are saying that people of good brand live a balance, right? And I think that will be very important to read. I don't have enough time to talk about character formation. Suppose something on its own. Maybe another one of teacher we need to talk about it. Because we are going to talk about brand. You want to know how to become a better person or that. So, and that data tells you. Then you put how to make in the next person. What the first place is that?
Self-awareness.
Yes. If you don't know who you are, for example, the other day I had a very interesting story of someone who said to me, I never carry my problems from the office. I leave them to the office. The friend kept hearing the guy say that then one day, one of the staff in the office, he was the CEO, one of the staff said, no, I don't know, you need to tell us what happened at home. He was so offended. I want to take my office in the country. How can I do that? No, sorry, sir. He tried to improve. But he went when he went for a place with one of his friends, so can you imagine today? Someone was telling me that trying to pretend that there is something from home that has come to the office. Huh? You know that. You do that too. They made a law. The guy did not know what to say. But as I'm going to say, what would you honest with you? We all do that where you are. Whenever you have a problem with your wife, we never have a problem with you. You carry your problem from home everywhere. And he said, me. So you have to ask me. And everybody else knew, except him. That he doesn't carry all problems to them and everywhere else. And he said that self-awareness may be you interviewing people, finding out, being honest with yourself. Because how can you become better if you don't know who you are? So you don't have a plan, but you never take it. Because you don't have it. The last condition is that who you remain and tell you how bad you are. You can do the better. As long as you agree who you are. We don't.
Clarify current understanding of character shaping concepts.
Agree?
Determine the right understanding of concept, the truth.
Next.
Engage truth in the lucid understanding of concepts. Align actions to right understanding of concepts. Act with confidence. Depend on God for the power of change.
Yeah. So that we discover. For example, you are gives you food like that. And it doesn't matter if the chapati you may like, but as long as she gives you the left hand, she's not even away from her background. And she's not the right hand belongs to her and the left one. What does it matter? We can give you as long as the food is yours. But when you're not aware, we teach you to know. So you don't get it. This woman, how many is the wrong woman? Now, self-aware means to ask yourself, how have I get? And then when you have to blame, look into yourself first. I know, it's because she gave me food with the right hand, the next stage. But is that the right understanding? That food tastes different. Because of the heart, I know the food was given. That's why it don't you. You are food. So you can't be, the first law of yourself, you not come here. What the right understanding? The right understanding is for my wife to have worked on the food and come from the office and to give me is a wonderful thing. Let the wife be irrelevant. Of course, even the next time you give you food and give your brother, again you food and tell you, maybe I can have no problem. So instead of going over, he says, Daddy, the best for the food, but what the way is to you. If you practice that, that's what the Bible says. If you keep practicing fighting that wrong law, you will be wrong with the wrong. After some time, you do not know the name. So that food comes from the left or am I right? And of course, we need the whole subject that I'm saying is that. Because I know you have to love yourself. The problem you have continue. My wife and I have been married for 23 years. And I still remember when I had a year, we kept telling each other, I would say, when we had to talk somewhere, I say that, please marry the guy, when you never change. And the family mom says, how can you get that? People change! After about 10 years of marriage, he said, I agree with you. People don't change. Because until you are aware of yourself, the problem you had while you are married, importantly, you are still the same. That's why we are very familiar. First of all, when it is not given a say yourself, but first of all, becoming a you want to accept. And it's very important to ask yourself, is that what you are doing or not? Just read this. Next part to part 9. That's good. It's just a copy of the news.
There are some viewers related to in the last 2 years, including 1 year, we dealt with the middle of transportation. The government started giving people what so much on the day he died, we have left the office one at the end was back at his desk. Now, the police concluded that the isolated recently. The difficult part is becoming why a man with a higher pride career decided down to think himself. They fired him with so much work, and he wasn't the place to be tried. So he did it anyway. He did it anyway. Me, last year, an employee who talked to us said, move from there in the middle of us to the location in a career. If you are provided a certain plan, so if you are in a high-scale environment, the company should find a way to this value and in help you can believe this of what
You know the story already, isn't it? You read it in a newspaper, am I right? That guy, his main problem is lack of self-awareness. You know, like they are saying, he worked late into the night. Then I woke up very early before everybody else to go back to the office. The body has limits, isn't it? To start imagining that you are a stone, not a human being, it's lack of self-awareness. In fact, they said, I talked to some people from Pricewaterhouse and they were saying, it's not something that happened one day. He has appeared for presentation and forgotten what to present because of simply overwork. My friend, within no time, people will start thinking you're a fool, but you're actually not a fool. It's because you are not self-aware of your body clock. They tell me, for example, anytime you sleep less than 6 hours, don't drive. Why? Lack of sleep reduces your speed of reaction and your decision making. So you see a car there, you know it should move, but if you are so slow, by the time you are trying to move, you have had a head-on collision. And it's not that you're a fool, it's simply the body clock. All we are saying is, if you want to be a good brand, it will be, all your intention will be spoiled simply by not being self-aware. Let's now come back to this issue of living within your means. Pass the mic to the next person.
Much of life is maintaining balance. And the team knows that we need a balance between offense and defense, and between weakness and strength. In our personal finances, we want to maintain a balance between income and expenses. Living within your means is possible if you go for essence, not public relations. Transport does not require Mercedes. Balance, just live as such, continue and eternity.
Thank you. Now, what we are really saying, and it's very important to see this first point, that you need to come to where reality is what matters. You know, people even tell you, this dress, I bought it in London. Now, whether you bought it in London or bought it in Kenya, it's cotton, isn't it? So what difference does it make where you? But there are people so worried about where they bought the item. Because of being so worried, you are unable to live within your means. Because you do not take dresses as a purpose for covering yourself. I can tell you about my wedding in 1979. It got into your mind that what you need is a good suit that tells the camera you are well dressed. But after the camera, it's your dress, isn't it? So I argued, why would I force the groomsmen, to put the most expensive suit is a suit of a color they don't like? Because the color is for the groom, isn't it? And I told them, why don't we look for something that will lie to the camera? And we look smart. If you look at my wedding photographs, we are very smart. But all you need is to watch it 3 times and it becomes a wedding. But that is too late for the camera. It has already been taken. Am I communicating? So when you come to where what matters to you is the reality. It changes. The same thing, assuming there are people here who are not married. A wedding, whether expensive or cheap, does not affect marriage. Would you agree, those of you who are older in marriage? Am I right? Yeah. But yet, you can go for a big loan that will affect your marriage on a matter that cannot help your marriage. That is, we remember our topic is to be a good brand, you must learn to live within your means. And that will not happen. And of course, I've used the example of starch. Eating a balanced diet is a requirement, it's essence. But a balanced diet, if you take, for example, starch, it's a long time. I did my Form 4 1971, so I have not visited that subject again. But I think they used to say a balanced diet is starch. What were the other 2? Protein and vitamins. Now, let's start with starch. You are a man living within your means. So what do? You ask, which starch can I afford? And you know something? If you don't have money, just go buy maize, dry maize, take it to Gikomba, assuming you come from Nairobi. And they have a thing that will and unga will come out. The price of that unga has no comparison with Jogo from the shop. Those of you who know what I'm talking about, am I right? It's so cheap. Make porridge for your children. That is proper starch. When they take the porridge, they know you have taken starch. If you get richer, buy bread. But they tell me bread cannot compare with the porridge. Bread is not as good as porridge, but it's more expensive. Would you agree with me? Now if you get richer than that, even bring Weetabix. But remember, when you buy Weetabix, the sales cannot tell whether the starch came from Weetabix or from porridge. So you are wasting your money that you don't have and not adding any value to your body. Can you see the foolishness? And many people, the reason why they end up stealing and are corrupt is because they are unable to live within, and they're destroying their brand simply for something that doesn't add up. The same thing with a suit. I gave you the example of the wedding suit. You can wear smart but cheap. But of course, I'm not suggesting you become economical. If you get rich, just go to London to buy. It will be the same one as from the cotton in Makueni, but buy what you want if you can afford it. I'm not asking you to be cheap. I'm asking you to live within your means. So it is very, very important to understand, because if you are dressing or make about protein, if you have no money, they told me, and you can correct me because I told you it's 50 years since I sat in a class, if they could train me on that if you take beans, you are taking protein. Why you thought that? So if you can't afford money, just go to Gikomba, buy a debe of beans, boil them for your children, and make sure they have beans on a daily basis throughout the month. The cells, after the stomach has worked on it, all the cells will take is protein. Now if you get rich, please go for meat. If you get rich, even go for a seafood restaurant. But after the cells have worked on it, they don't take chicken, they take protein.
What about the process of the eat for it for the body?
I'm talking about of what you can afford. So if you can afford more, go ahead. I hope I'm clear about that. I'm not telling you. So they tell me, the experts are the ones who tell me that you can take, and actually some of them argue that vegetable or whatever, what do you call the proteins from beans? The other one is meat. Animal, that's animal protein. The other one is vegetable protein, whatever you call it. You can see I don't know that subject well. But the point is, I hope I'm communicating, that you are, by going into debt, going into corruption, simply for protein, is a waste of, it's lack of wisdom. Or maybe it's a car. I gave the car example clearly. Do you know, coming to Naivasha from Nairobi, a Vitz and a Mercedes travel the same speed? Why? A Mercedes is allowed by the manufacturer to go at 300 kilometers an hour. But the government of Kenya says you are not allowed to go beyond 100. A Vitz can go at 150. But the government of Kenya says you cannot go beyond. So the Mercedes and the Vitz just follow each other like too cheap. Because the Mercedes is not, unless of course it wants to bribe the police. And they normally are somewhere you are dropping 2,000 Naivasha, isn't it? You end up, so if you really want a good brand, buy the car you can afford, because adding nothing. Oh, very little. I'm not saying, let me not say nothing. Adding very little. But of course, if you have the money, it is a class to be driving a Mercedes. You know the Vitz, an important 1 million could give you a Vitz. Am I right? You require 12, 15 million to buy the same 5-seater. The Vitz is 5 people, this one is 5 people, and they're following each other like 2 sheep. While you use money you can never pay, only to arrive in Naivasha at the same time. Remember you're talking about your brand. Don't allow your brand to be spoiled simply for something that's not essence. So you're saying go for the essence. What is it that you really want? And that will be something very important. Let me just finish this and we can go to the question. Give this to the next person.
He took all that and 10 minutes to answer the first question. And the question was 10 minutes there or less 2 hours. Remember, there were another 4 questions to do. And so we tried to do the other 4 questions in 10 minutes. You are likely to guess what happened. He got very good marks on the first question, but of course, it was already allocated 20 marks. He therefore still failed the question.
You see, we are talking about exams, but you are talking about life. Your life is divided into various, you are a father once. That's a job you have. You are a procurement manager. That's another job you have. You are an elder in a church. That's another job. And all of them with the same person. Am I right? So you have to find that your life, for you to say you are a good brand, you must get marks in all areas. What we have seen consistently is many people that perform well professionally end up without marriage. Am I right? Why? Not because they could not have had it both ways, but because they put all their marks on the first question. I'm not communicating. You're getting that the exam is for 5 questions, and during the word of marks, the first question can't get more than 20. See, if there are 5 questions, to get 100%, you must get 20, isn't it? If you put all your effort there, you get a full 20, plus zeros on the others. Will you have passed? That's exactly what it means if you want to be a good brand, you must stop yourself during the first question when the time for first question is over. Allocate your time correctly. Remember, you are a husband, you are a father. Each of them must be allocated. When we end up talking about you, we'll be talking about a rounded guy. And I know we have an example of Kibaki currently, whom we are all evaluating. The whole world is evaluating him. And they're not just evaluating one area. Read the articles. They talk about the other boy. They talk about all that information is available. Am I right? So you need to understand, if you want to be a good brand, it is not one area. It's all areas. And not one, just one person. I've run out of time. I've just looked at this thing is timing me, and I realize I don't have enough time. So I'm asking you a simple question. Do you want to be a good brand? What drives you? Is it jealousy? You're always trying to be better than others. Why can't you be better than yourself? I did my KPE, it was called KPE in 1967. That's the last time anybody placed me in a position. Because I went through a headmaster who didn't believe in comparing people. He said, compare yourself with yourself. So every time he did maths, previous time and this time, and showed you another third column to show you whether you are going back or going better. I never knew from 1 to from 4, I never knew what position I was, ever. So of course now, in our time, in 1971, when you did your exam, it used to appear in the nation. So of course there are very few high schools. So we all appeared in the nation. That's when I discovered, out of a class of 105, I was in the top 5. And I said, Aya, you mean I was clever after all? Now, you see, it does not quite matter. It doesn't matter whether you are better or worse. What matters is, are you becoming better you? Am I going to get it? In fact, when we finally got children, we got 3. I refused to give them marks because they are number 1. I did exactly what the headmaster taught me. We would sit with the child, comparing last time and this time, and they get a reward for improvement. If you are clever, actually give the reward to God, because you just happen to be clever. But so even the one who is weakest academically still got a prize. Because you're not comparing number 1, you're comparing yourself with yourself. And that, of course, is for school. What about you? Why don't you determine? You will not be working to compare yourself with others. You will be comparing yourself with yourself. And when you know you are becoming better, whether I give you promotion or not, you will be happy with a better version of yourself. So, are you being driven by jealousy? Are you being driven by painful memories? You know, some people spoil their children because, hey, the troubles I went through, my son cannot go through that. So you are pampering your child until you have spoiled the child. Or so that he doesn't become like you. The memories are what is driving you. You are not looking forward. You are running forward, looking backwards. No wonder there are so many accidents in life. So you need to ask yourself, do you have some memories of the past that are holding you? And all my father did. It is irrelevant what your father did. Work on yourself. Are you driven by fear? Or are you driven by some core values that you have? Now I realize I've run out of time. And I wanted us to talk about having a clear reason for living. This note will be given you. But all the asking is, who is the authentic you? Pass the mic to the next person.
Who is the authentic you? Brother Brown says, authenticity is a collection of choices that you have to make every day. It's about the chance to show up and be real, the chance to be honest, the chance to let our true selves be seen. Suit your actions to your words. Make sure your personal brand is accurately representative of who you are.
That's really what we are talking about. So, I suggest every three people, maybe you just stand and face it. I'm creating groups of 3 for discussion. I'm told adults don't like just sitting listening. They also can educate each other. So you just, maybe create 4, groups of 4, because it's possible to actually have 2 people this side, 2 people this side, and you talk. Or did you do groups this morning?
Yeah.
How you can remain in the same groups? Where you know your group, isn't it? Just go back to your groups. How many groups did they have? How many groups did they have in the morning? 4. Yeah, please go to the group and deal with that exercise. And you have only 7 minutes to cover it, counting from now. Since you know which group, just go to where you are in the morning. It's not a debate. It's just, you just list. So, list 4 items that can destroy a reputation and say why you think can destroy. List 4 items that can build a reputation and why they can build a reputation. Give an example of someone with a good reputation in your industry and give evidence of why you think he has a good reputation. Give an example of someone with a bad reputation in your industry and give evidence for that belief. You can see that's why I'm giving 7 minutes. Go to your group, please, and remember to appoint the person who will report so that he can take notes.